From the heart of Wrexham, welcome to the Hope Street Church podcast. For more information of how to get involved, stay tuned until the end of the episode.
Happy birthday, church! No one replied. I don't think. Happy birthday! It's great to celebrate. It's great, as always, to gather in the presence of Jesus, this one community that we are drawn together around the cross and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. For him, for his purposes. He's in the room, he's here, and he's got a purpose for us, not just you, not just me, but a purpose for us together. Today is going to be a little bit different from a usual kind of Sunday Hope Street Church. And I guess as we do this, I want you to picture, if you remember in the Old Testament, many times for the people of God, what they would do in kind of as part of their journey, when God had revealed himself in a profound way, when he had spoken to Abraham or to Moses, when he had acted in a particular way that they wanted to celebrate and look back and remember, they would build an altar of stones. They would kind of collect these stones together. And I want you to picture that is what's happening today. And even as we come to today, I want you to be thinking about what's your stone that you're bringing to add to the altar. Because we're doing this as a way not just to big up Hope Street, not to celebrate Hope Street, but to celebrate the God who is building his church, to celebrate the God who has saved each one of us, the God that loves us, the God that has called us. Together and for his purposes. So bring your stone. Let's create an altar so that we might remember his faithfulness and his goodness and what he has done in our midst. As Andy and I were preparing to plant, in that kind of those busy few months beforehand, we were praying a lot for this church and what would become. And there was a verse that stuck out to us. God had been speaking to us a lot from Isaiah 61, that beautiful passage, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. And it goes on, and later on in Luke 4, Jesus refers to it, and he takes what was said over Israel onto himself, and he then says that we're called to the same things. But there was one verse in that profound passage that says this: "For as the soil makes the young plant come up and a garden causes seeds to grow, so the sovereign Lord will make righteousness and praise spring up before all nations." For as the soil makes the young plant come up and a garden causes seeds to grow. I guess it was a picture of us with a seed in our hand. In those early days, before anything had come into being, we just had this seed of promise, an insignificant kernel, but within it, it contained all the potential of life and flourishing, all that God wanted to do. It's a promise of what is to come. And I think it really accurately pictured what we were feeling in that moment. That we had this tiny thing, and it was vulnerable, but it held within it so much potential of what God would do. And in those few months, it was like us and a small group of people that had begun to gather together. We planted this seed. We kind of dug up the ground and said, Lord, would you come? Would you, this thing that you've said, that you've willed, that you've spoken to us about, that you've spoken to other people about, that you've provided everything for, would you come and now make this seed grow into the plant, the tree that you are calling us to be? And this verse, God was assuring us that what we planted in faith, God would faithfully grow. It was an invitation to give the little that we had to the most extraordinary gardener so that righteousness and praise might spring up, that we might be a people that are marked by worship and holiness, that we would become that people. And so 3 years ago, on the 31st of January, Andy and I in a small group gathered, I guess, to plant that seed. And I remember Andy and I don't know why we did this. We sat on 2 stools 2 meters apart in the middle of COVID with a camera on us, and we did our first public service on January the 31st, three years ago, in the back there. I wonder if we did that because we thought that people wouldn't realise that we were married, and there were points in our relationship where we were slightly closer than 2 meters apart. But the building was a building site still. We didn't know what was to come, and yet we stood in that place and we said, God, here we go. Come and have your way in this place. Fast forward a year, we probably had about 80 people, including children and youth, that were gathering together on a Sunday. This time last year, we'd over doubled. We probably had 170, 190 every week. Year 3, there's probably now about 220, 240 every week gathering on a Sunday to worship Jesus. And the thing that excites me is not just numbers on a seats, but lives changed. People coming alive in their faith, people coming to know Jesus, us together walking out this purpose and this path of discipleship so that we might become more like Jesus. And so now I think it's just going through a whole load of stats, but probably about 300 adults would call Hope Street their home, over 80 children and youth. We've had 287 alpha guests over the last 3 years. Isn't that amazing? There's about 158 of you serving on team. We've given over 100 Bibles away to people that are exploring faith, that maybe haven't got a Bible of their own. And even this year, I was just thinking before the service, how we've grown in worship this year. Just to acknowledge Josh, the team, the production guys, everybody that comes and leads us. Ultimately, Jesus deserves all the glory and the praise. But these guys put so much work to facilitate our love of Jesus. So can we just give them a round of applause for everything that they've... Paul says in 1 Corinthians, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God made it grow. It's God. It's all about God. It's all for God. It's all for him. And I guess what I wanted to do today is just tell a few stories that might encourage us for what God has done in this last year. It's so much more than numbers. It's about lives changed. And so there's a few things I wanted to highlight. First of all, salvation, because someone coming to know Jesus, giving their life to him, and beginning this journey of walking with him is the best news ever. So Hope Street is here. There's many amazing churches in Wrexham, in North Wales. But we're here particularly because we're not here to reach a whole load of Christians, the kind of 0.5% that currently go to church. We're here to meet the 99.5% of people that don't currently go to church. We want to position ourselves as a worshipping community facing outward so that each of us, we are part of a mission that is to say, come and see. Come and see who God is. Come and see what God has done. And that we might be empowered and equipped to go and tell, as we've been talking about this last year, that we might go into our workplaces and into our families and into our communities with the best news ever, that Jesus loves you, that Jesus died for you and he wants a relationship with you. So salvation, we're here. And if you're here today and you're not sure what you think about Jesus, if you're not sure about, if you're convinced about the claims of the Christian faith, just to say, this is a church for you. You are the most welcome here. Out of anyone, this is a church for you. Again, was just doing a quick count. I think probably about 23 people have become Christians over the last year. And there will be many more. Yeah. There'll be many more that have come back to faith. Others that have come alive in their faith or are genuinely exploring at the moment. And I just wanted to interview one. Mickey, where are you? Because I can't see. There you go. Come and... This is Mickey. Mickey actually has been a part of our story, really, tiny bit right from near the beginning. Yeah. But particularly this time last year, you kind of started exploring and came to Alpha and things. But tell us, first of all, how would you describe where you were in your relationship with God before coming to Alpha?
I'd sort of stopped going to church at that time. I'd always gone to church as a child. My dad is actually a minister in Wrexham, so he actually has a few churches here. But I never felt like I walked through the door and I was home. I never felt like I could express myself. So Sarah Smith, actually, Josh's wife, asked me if I wanted to come to Hope Street. I came to a Christmas service. I saw Alpha was on the table and I thought I need to do something for myself. I need to do something for my faith. And I came to Alpha.
Amazing. So that was this time last year. So you would have described yourself as you had a relationship with Jesus, but maybe he wasn't in your life in the same kind of way. But describe it a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what happened to you during that time at Alpha.
So I think I always felt like I was a Christian, but I wasn't a good Christian. So on paper, I was like, I go to church and I'm dead nice to people. But I wasn't doing the things that I should have been doing to practice my faith. And at the time, I'd closed a lot of doors in my life that I was like, well, I don't need to deal with that. That's gone. I'm a Christian, I'm fine. I've got God, nothing else can affect me. And when I came to Alpha, I think it was about week 4, they do a session on forgiveness. And it was definitely a session that I struggled with because I felt like, well, I'm a Christian, so I've forgiven everyone. Nobody has done any wrong to me, I'm fine. And suddenly this door started to open where I was facing a situation that I knew I'd put behind me, but I needed to forgive it, and I hadn't prepared myself to do so. And I think God was saying, yes, you're a Christian, but you need to follow me. You need to give everything to me. So I remember sitting downstairs with Reese, and we prayed together. And he's in the video that it shows, it says, you don't forgive, God does. Yeah. And I had to just give it to Jesus to do that. And then a couple of weeks later in the Alpha course, they did I think it was a session about healing, which was a huge one. Andy will remember this. There wasn't many of us at this session, and we were all sat in a circle, and they'd had a few prayers before the session. And he said, I've got somebody, I can see like a spine or like pain in your back, in someone's back. He wasn't saying me specifically, but definitely was me. And I've had scoliosis, so the curvature of the spine, since I was told I had it about 10 years old. And I was told at the time they didn't want to operate and they don't want to in the future unless it worsens, but that there would be continuous pain for quite possibly the rest of my life. And I said to Andy at the time, I don't want to be like necessarily crazily cured. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and it's just gone. I just don't want to be in pain. Yeah. And a few of them came and lay hands on me, and ever since I haven't had near as much pain as I did then. So
amazing. So you kind of grew in forgiveness, you experienced a level of healing, and came alive in your faith in a whole new way that you hadn't really experienced before. But tell us, what difference has Jesus made in your life since that time?
Oh, it's been incredible. I think as soon as I accepted that being a Christian is also not just going to church, it's understanding what God is trying to say to you, and that it's not always going to be easy. A lot of people, that when I say I'm a Christian, they're like, oh, so you have an easy life. I'm like, absolutely not, like 100% no. But I understood that I had to ask God what was next, instead of going, right, well, what do I do now? It's always a process with God. And I said to you, didn't I, before, that I don't pray, I just talk to him all the time. So I don't need to be stood in a room and hold my hands together to know that I'm speaking to him. And he will always be involved in my next steps. So when I wanted to change my old job because I was just not happy there. And I could feel God saying, you need to go. It's time. And a job at Tabernacle came available. Sarah actually told me about it. And I was like, no, I don't think I should do that. That's not right. And I told Reese that I'd looked at the job, and he was like, yeah, you need to do that. And then I was like, okay, I'll ask God. And I did, and now I work in Tabernacle. So.
And she is amazing. If you haven't been to Tabernacle, come along Tuesday to Saturday, 10 till 4. Mickey will kind of welcome you. But isn't that amazing that actually from an invitation, opening up a whole other depth of relationship with Jesus, experiencing all the things that you have, and that will continue, but that now you are a part of creating home and welcome for other people as they can, and welcome, and probably lots of other things. Mickey, thank you so much. Give her a round of applause. And I know, looking around this room, that there's so many other people that have experienced a similar kind of thing. So many stories. But secondly, I wanted to draw your attention to what God is doing amongst our younger generations. I said just a minute ago that we want to reach out to the 99.5% of people that don't go to church. I think one of the things that I'm really aware of is that for so often a large amount of that is young people, is people that are like under 45. It's the people in their 20s, it's our young people that are significantly absent from the wider church. I heard this a little while ago. There's a guy called Stephen Foster who used to head up Alpha at HDB and is now a pastor at a church in Oxford. And he said this: if you want the average age to increase of a church, what do you have to do? Nothing. In other words, we are all going to get older. If we want the average age to increase of our church, you don't have to do anything. He then went on to say, if you want to create a greater inward focus, what do you have to do? Nothing. In other words, there is a tendency within all of us towards comfort, towards looking after ourselves, towards this community rather than that community. But if you want to go younger in age and more outward in focus, you have to be intentional. And that's what we're doing. That's why we're deliberately saying this is what we're here for. We're here to reach. And I remember last year when I was praying and preparing for this celebration, I was really struck by this prophetic urgency for young people. And I wrote this: for those who are parents of teenagers who currently don't go to church, parents who carry an ache with you that your son, your daughter would experience the immense love and glorious grace of the Father, that they too might one day follow him. We haven't forgotten your kids. There is more. And I think that we've begun to experience that more this last year. Again, it's within scriptures. Psalm 78 says this: my people, hear my teaching, listen to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth with a parable. I will utter hidden things from of old, things we have heard and known, things our ancestors have told us about. We will not hide them from their descendants. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power and the wonders he has done. In the Message, it says, stories we've heard from our fathers, counsel we learned at our mother's knee. We're not keeping this to ourselves. We're passing it along to the next generation. God's fame and fortune, the marvelous things that he has done. In other words, As the church, we are called to raise up the younger generation. We must not forget our young people. We must not forget our children. We must not forget to release people in their 20s to step into all that they've been called to. This is a significant part of our calling as the church and as this church. And so would you welcome Kat and Nathan? Give them a round of applause. Oh, here we go. Hello. You guys will know Kat. Kat is the youth pastor here, and this has been an incredible year, exciting. The beginnings, I think. But tell us a little bit about what you've begun to see within the young people here at Hope Street.
It has been an amazing year. We've been seeing our young people being more excited to pray out loud, to step out, read the Bible, particularly on Sunday evenings and on our Tuesday nights, just taking that time to pray together, and our young people prophesying over each other when they know that they've spoken into another teenager's life, and that teenager knows that there's no way they could know that must be from God, the God creator of the universe, cares about me in my school, that they know that God walks down those corridors with them or in their homes. It's just the most fun, and it's just been incredible to see them, that light bulb moment when they know Jesus actually cares about me. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit, because you had an amazing moment this last year with the weekend away was probably quite a key highlight. Tell us a little bit about that.
So you do all the planning, and I do all the human physical jobs of I'll book the place, we'll book paddleboarding, you do all of that. And I remember going there and I said, right, God, I've sort of done my bit, but I can't save souls. I can't do the eternal work, so that is over to you. And so you go and you do your sessions and you give it to God. And the way he moved was so way beyond my expectation. We had kids coming forward for ministry, again, prophesying over each other. We had about 6 give their lives, a couple of recommittals. And even though I was the one praying, as I was watching it unfold before me, even I was just speechless. And yeah, God was just so, so good that weekend.
That's amazing. And so we've seen numbers have massively increased, but it's not just about the young people that we've got here. There's been real open doors out into the community as well. Tell us a little bit about the opportunities that you have now.
So me and Jack Wright and Josh, actually, we're all chaplains at the college. And often, me and Jack will walk around Yale campus just praying, God, where are the next opportunities? Where are you going to move? So once a week down in the back of Tabernacle.
2 seconds before, tell us Yale. Tell us kind of something of the numbers and where it is, because some people won't know.
So Yale is about 4 minutes that way, and I think, Kev can correct me, there might be about 11,000 students, maybe more. Yeah, so incredible opportunity, loads of teenagers on our doorstep. Really interesting how the land lies sort of spiritually as well. You can come and talk to me about that if that's interesting to you. But me and Jack do our college cafe once a week. That's kind of become the unofficial common room for Yale students. So we see about 20 to 30 different kids each week. And, in September we start out and we don't really know any of them. And now we're at the stage in the year where they're telling us about their lives, their prayer requests, really deep wounds. We get to pray with them. We get to minister to them. So that's incredible. And then Yale is very much student-led, so a lot of the stuff that happens has to kind of come from the students. So it's quite hard to sort of start something if it's not come from them first. And we've had one young person say, I'm a Christian, there's no Christian union, there's 11,000 students here, there must be more, let's start a Christian union. And so Kev's been helping us do marketing and promo for that, and in the next couple of weeks we'll have a brand new Christian union in that college. Yeah. It's a huge answer to prayer, but that is something that I would really, really love to cheekily ask you guys to just pray for us as we launch that as well.
And you're also, I'm going to go on to him, but you're also in the school as well, which is so exciting, going into the school and ministering to young people. Nath, tell us a little bit about your journey over this last year, because God has been meeting with you personally as well.
Yeah, my word, I don't know where to start. I was a different, well, very much the same man, but very different outlook this time last year. I was comfortable in a job, a nicely paid job. I'd worked my way up in Networld Sports as a product designer. I was leading a team of probably 5 or 6 people, very comfortable in my faith, in my old relationship, and in my job, and just kind of was cruising, and then kind of things were going well, and I just sense a shift of kind of purpose. My old relationship ended, and kind of that shook the ground a bit, and I thought, okay, so it was actually, I mean, that was a blessing in disguise, because it helped me to refocus and lean more back into my relationship with God. And I think that was where the shift came. And I basically went to China with my old job, which was amazing, came back, and I just felt like it was like a completion feeling of, okay, this is done. And I didn't know what I wanted to do next, but when I was probably about 12, I had a prophecy over me into kind of leadership. And I was like, oh man, not now, surely. And an amazing opportunity came up with a charity called Bridge the Gap Football. So kind of started with them. I really didn't want it originally, but I went for it. And God just changed my mindset. He gave me that vision, which really kind of, God spoke into me. That was purely from him, and gave me that, that shift. And alongside that, kind of having conversations with Andy, and he saw the potential in me for stepping into kind of the young adult work here, and that was really, really exciting. So kind of moved into 4 days a week with Bridge the Gap, and then 1 day a week with the young adults here.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about what you've seen this last year, or particularly what is just emerging now. Hopefully to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my biggest thing is wherever I've been, I've never got stuck into a community of young adults. I've always missed that, and I didn't want to miss that again being here. And I really want to create a space, both for myself and for others, other young adults, to come and just be and find community and kind of walk through life together. I think that's something that is so important in church, is just walking through the mundane life together. And so, that's what I did. We started off just by doing a few socials around my house, kind of build a bit of a bond, and now we're kind of really opening that up. So we had our first collective night last Thursday, which was incredible. Really just great space to have everyone come in to spend some time praying, worshipping, and just living life together. So it was amazing.
Amazing. So much, so exciting. Thank you, guys. Give these guys a round of applause. Now, we've got the kids beginning to come and join us, and so we're going to get ready for them. But as they come in, I'm just going to say, in fact, turn for 2 seconds and go to the person next to you and just ask them, first of all, what has God done in your life this last year? And if you're here for the first time, maybe that might be difficult to answer. Just say, what's brought you here? But if you want to do that just for 1 minute, and if you are a parent of a child, if you want to stand up, and then I think the children will beginning, or when you see your child coming in, stand up so they can see, and the kids team will bring them back to you. When we get to these kind of end of year moments, start of a new year, is shall we go again? Shall we go again? And I guess I want to say that again to you guys as a church community. Are you ready to go again? Are you ready to stand in this, that we are called to be a people of hope, following Jesus, giving ourselves away? to see Wrexham renewed, that we're not going to stay where we are, that there is more to come. At the end of Matthew's Gospel, Jesus speaks to his disciples at a really transitional moment and says, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very ends of the earth. And I guess my challenge to us as a community again today is, are we ready to go? Are we ready to make disciples? Are we ready to teach everything that Jesus has taught us to those that are around us? Are we ready to make disciples of other people and see them come into the fullness of life that Jesus has promised? And if we do that, there will be a multiplication of faith. There will be a multiplication of Christians. There will be a multiplication of leaders. There'll be a multiplication probably in this coming year of services. We're preparing for a multiplication of churches, because the kingdom is a kingdom of multiplication if we each take this seriously to go and make disciples. And the promise that comes with it is, and surely I am with you always, even to the very end of the age. So as we go this year, as we step into more of the same, we go in the power and in the anointing of the Spirit of God for each of us. And we're going to pray in a minute that he would come and fill us again for all that he's got for us in this coming year.
Thank you for listening to the Hope Street podcast. We're a church in Wrexham with a vision to be a people of hope, following Jesus and giving ourselves away to see Wrexham renewed. To find out more, head to our website, hopestreet.church, or follow us on social media.